Once you like U2, you'll be a man.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Listography, Albums of the Year 1992. All right, so the year before, grunge in the Seattle scene kind of explodes into the mainstream. But it's not until January of 92 that Nevermind reaches the #1 spot in the Billboard charts. Kurt Cobain and Courtney Love are also married this year. You have the big Freddie Mercury tribute concert at Wembley Stadium. November Rain becomes the longest single in history to reach the US top 20 at 8 minutes and 57 seconds. It also has the most expensive music video up to that point in history with a budget of $1.5 million. Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown get married. Frank Zappa makes his final professional public appearance. Sinead O'Connor rips up a picture of the Pope on SNL. End of the Road by Boyz II Men breaks Elvis Presley's record by spending 12 weeks at #1. Bill Wyman quits the Rolling Stones. Vince Neil quits Motley Crue. Rob Halford quits Judas Priest. Top songs of the year are End of the Road by Boyz II Men, Baby Got Back by Sir Mix-a-Lot, Jump by Criss Cross, Save the Best for Last by Vanessa Williams, and Baby 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 by TLC. The biggest selling album of the year is Some Gave All by Billy Ray Cyrus. And one last thing before we get into our lists that I'd want to point out. The end of this video will mark the halfway point through our Albums of the Year journey. It's kind of crazy. 1992 feels a lot closer to present day than it does to 1965, but that'll be 28 out of 56.
That's because we were alive in 92.
Although I don't know what I was doing in 92. Not listening to any of these albums. I can tell you that. Probably listening to Eric Johnson or the Beatles exclusively at that point. I
had Criss Cross on cassette. I can picture it now in my closet. I
remember that being a big song at the roller rink.
Yeah, I also had I had a rat tail, and I had the MC Hammer shaves, like the zigzags.
I don't know if I had those in 92, but I had those at some point.
All right. Sound like cool kids. I guess I'm going first on this one. Really, the best album of this year is probably the singles soundtrack. Not putting it in my list because it is a soundtrack. It's a heck of a soundtrack. Some of my favorite Pearl Jam and Paul Westerberg songs are on there. But my top 5, and this is not quite as deep as 91. I only had 10 or 11 I really considered. My top 5 is going to be, I got Little Earthquakes by Tori Amos, kind of taking the mantle of Kate Bush. It's weird, I actually liked Tori Amos before I liked Kate Bush, so I don't know. It all just connected somehow. I got Rage Against the Machine, self-titled. Love their sound, their ferocity. Even, my politics don't quite match up with Zach De La Rocha's and Tom Morello's, but they make me want to be a socialist when I hear them, so they got that going for them. I also have Dirt by Allison Chains. Big step up as far as sort of creating a just drugged out, terrible, this is one of the most depressing albums ever made. Probably would have been my #1 5 years ago. Rooster, Them Bones, Down in a Hole. Just really depressing. Great stuff, though. Really love Staley and Cantrell's vocals on this one. Great guitar work, obviously. I also got Dream Theater, Images and Words. Probably my favorite Dream Theater album. Really sort of unlike, it's kind of like a whole new genre of prog they created on this one. It's a little cheesy, sappy at times, but really like John Petrucci's guitar. Classic sort of throwback to the 70s, but modern at the same time. But my #1 is going to be Angel Dust by Faith No More. One of just the weirdest albums ever released on a major label. follow-up to, you know, their big hit, The Real Thing. This is really the first one with Mike Patton sort of defining and directing the musical sort of direction of the band. He kind of came in late on The Real Thing. So it's, you know, he's just a really weird dude in general. He, you know, they were touring with like Guns N' Roses and Metallica, and he just like hated all the fans. Like he, just a really kind of weird, mean dude. But it really kind of comes together on this one. There's songs, you know, he does a song, RV, where he's like singing from the point of view of this like depressed white dude living in squalor in his RV, talking about how his kids hate him. But it's a great song. It really works. There's Land of Sunshine, Caffeine Midlife Crisis, or a little more straightforward, kind of that funk sound. And then there's songs like Crack Hitler, Be Aggressive, which is like, if you think about like their fan base coming from The Real Thing, where it's kind of probably a bunch of like metal heads, like bros who really like rap rock, and you listen to something subversive as Be Aggressive, and it's crazy. They basically just hated their fans and made this as kind of an FU to everybody. But it really works. Really bizarre stuff. A Small Victory was the single. It's got like these weird like 80s keyboards on this like funk beat, and it's just wild, ridiculous stuff. It's just a really cool album, completely unique, completely like mean, aggressive, but like they do a instrumental cover of Midnight Cowboy soundtrack. So, and then they did the Lionel Richie cover of Easy, which went on the re-release, but that was their biggest hit. I don't know, they're just a bunch of wild, weird dudes, but I really like it. It's a really great sound. Jim Martin, great guitar. Roddy Bottum, great keyboards. Mike Patton has the largest register in any person in pop rock history as far as his musical from low to high. It was in a study they did in like Vulture or something, but I always thought that was cool. He has a great voice. Really like him. So yeah, Angel Dust by Faith No More. Really weird, great record.
Yeah, I like Faith No More a good bit. I find them incredibly intriguing every time I listen to them, which probably isn't enough. All right, some albums that I had in 92 that were in the running but didn't make the final 5. You've got Southern Harmony and Musical Companion by Black Crowes, Dirt by Alice in Chains. I love Alice in Chains, and I know I haven't got them in the top 5 yet, but my favorite Alice in Chains album is still to come after 92, but I do like Dirt a good bit. Sweet Oblivion by Screaming Trees, I was considering. Us by Peter Gabriel, I really like. And poor REM with Automatic for the People not making it again every year. It's the same story for them. They're the Buffalo Bills of my lists. They just are a great band that never get it. So what do I've got as my runners up? I've got Slanted and Enchanted, the debut by Pavement. Sorry, Joe. I've got the debut by PJ Harvey with Dry. I've got Core, the debut by Stone Temple Pilots. And I've got Propeller by Guided by Voices. But my winner is going to be Neil Young with Harvest Moon. So maybe my favorite era of music for rock outside of like late 60s, early 70s is kind of, you know, the late 80s, early 90s. But like 91, I'm going to these old rock standards like U2 in 91 and now Neil Young in 92. I think they're just, you know, not so much U2, but for Neil Young, 20-something odd years after his debut, I think, you know, if you watch the Neil Young video, this is one of my top 5 favorite Neil Young albums, and I love it. It's an incredibly lush, romantic album. It's one of his more personal records, as if any Neil Young record couldn't be personal. This one is kind of about his breakup. And there's just so many just tremendous songs, and I think it's got a nice blend of just like folk and country, and probably my favorite sounding record because it's nice and hollow and really everlasting, and the reverb is great. His voice sounds tremendous. It's haunting and beautiful. Unknown Legend, From Hank to Hendrix, Harvest Moon, War of Man, Such a Woman, Old King, Dreamin' Man. It's just a really beautiful record, and I think it's really cool that Neil Young had this resurgence in his career in the late 80s and early 90s as far as I'm concerned. And to me, this is the best output that he had. So again, you know, in an era full of new, exciting stuff, I feel like, it's surprising, but I'm going with an old standard. Neil Young with Harvest Moon, my favorite of 1992. And that makes Neil Young, U2, Bruce Springsteen, and Rush as my only repeat winners so far on Listography Album of the Year.
Well, boys, it finally happened. 15 different albums in 1992. No repeats.
Wow. I'm surprised Joe didn't have Core, to be honest.
Yeah, me too.
Really?
Yes, really.
I'm not surprised. It was what, 4th on my Stone Temple Pilots list?
Yeah, but you love Stone Temple Pilots.
I don't know if I do. I used to. They kind of fallen a little bit.
All right, my picks. This was a weird year. Not as strong as 91, but I wouldn't call it a weak year, but not a lot of like my all-time favorite stuff in 92. But the 5 I came up with, One Hit Wonder, but they have a couple great albums and they're severely underrated, I think. I've got the self-titled debut from Blind Melon. I've also got the Southern Harmony and Musical Companion by the Black Crowes. I had a big Black Crowes phase when I was in high school, or maybe like right after high school. And I never really got into the debut that much. I don't love it for whatever reason. This to me is way, way better. Better sounding, better songs. It's just got like a more like authentic feel to it. I love it. I've also got March 16th through the 20th, 1992 by Uncle Tupelo. Their 3rd record, really good. More acoustic, produced by Peter Buck. Great album. I've also got another very underrated band, Screaming Trees with Sweet Oblivion. Came very, very close to giving it the win. Mark Lanigan's voice is just insanely good, and it sounds really good on this record, and the songs are great. But my winner for 1992 is Wish by The Cure. More and more, like every time I listen to it, it gets closer and closer to being my favorite Cure record. It might be overtaking the Head on the Door for me. I think this is the Cure at their most melodic and most like pop forward record. And there's something about when they do pop that I love, because there's always that like undercurrent of sadness. And it's just, it feels, when they do pop, it feels so layered and complex compared to when they're just like straight up being mopey. So this record just, I think, is really, really good. Gorgeous songs, really memorable tunes and melodies, and probably the last Cure record that will find its way onto a list for me.
Yeah, but the Cure had a good run. I mean, Head on the Door, one for you, correct? Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, one for me. Going through Album of the Year, the Cure, like I was looking at Wish as well. Probably should have mentioned it. One of the more underrated discographies, I think, of all time. So many great albums. It's crazy.
I didn't realize you liked The Cure that much, Jason. I'm surprised. This is 2 wins for them.
2 wins and 4 nominations.
Yeah, I didn't know. I like The Cure, but they're a singles band for me. I love their singles. I love their greatest hits. I don't really dig their albums much. I mean, Head on the Door made it on my list in a week 85, but I just can't get into them as far as like their whole albums. I don't know why.
Couldn't disagree more.
And I just want to throw out a couple more that neither of you mentioned that were in consideration for me. Hollywood Town Hall by the Jayhawks, and It's a Shame About Ray by the Lemonheads.
I can't believe Automatic for the People didn't make anybody's list.
Poor R.E.M.
Really? I believe it's the critics' choice for their best album.
Wouldn't be my choice, but yeah, I probably should have mentioned Your Arsenal by Morrissey. I like a good bit. And Meantime by Helmet. I kind of like Helmet. Not seriously in contention, but I also really like Fontanelle by Babes in Toyland this year, and Going Blank Again by Ride, and neither of them will probably have another mention again in the future, so want to throw that out.
So that does it for 1992. I don't know about for you guys, but looking ahead at 93, 94, 95, they're just insane years. I don't know how I'm going to whittle them down to 5. Some of the strongest years we've faced so far. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. You know the drill. Leave your favorites down in the comments. Hit the like button. Subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications, and check down in the description for links to all the social media accounts. And we will see you in 1993.
I'm Lisa.
Yeah,
Left
I
eye.
was gonna say your left eye. Joe is
I'll have to be the other one because Jason, you're
Chili.
what's her Chili? Yeah,
Yeah, you're T-Boz.
you boss. Cool.